Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. Back again with Charlie Austin, and we are talking about Captain Bob Craig. And I want to say one thing first, and then we'll come back, okay?
Okay.
And the main thing that I want to talk about Captain Bob is what he did for me. And, you know, I showed up already prepared to be on the Ocean City Beach Patrol. I had spent 3 years on the drill team. ROTC drill team, was the commander of the drill team, took our drill team to the #1 spot in Memphis. And then I got here, and he immediately gave me a crew chief position. And I spent 6 years on the Beach Patrol, and then there was a little incident that happened to me, probably in my last year, 1976. And Denny DePaula decided that I should be written up and terminated. And the reason that he had decided to do that is I had a UR, an emergency, and I had to go in the ambulance all the way to Salisbury and had a little trouble getting back, and found out that I'd been terminated the next day. So I went by to see Captain Bob, and you know, he sat there and listened to me, and he put me right back on the Beach Patrol.
Well, that's the kind of guy he was. Right?
You know what? You know what? I mean, he saved me.
Yeah.
He saved me from that. And I would have been forever marked and felt inferior in some sort of way. And he helped me become a bigger man. So why don't you tell me tell me one story about what he did for you?
Well, he did many for me.
We just want
raising
one.
up, yeah.
We just want one.
He just taught me how to be extra.
The best that you could be.
Yeah,
that's what he did. Taught you to be the best you could be.
That's right.
And you know, when Captain George did the same thing.
Yes, see, I want that to emphasize.
And we want to talk about that. And then Captain George was an incredible man.
Yes, and he was on the Beach Patrol when I was on the Beach Patrol.
That's right. He was your peer.
Yeah.
He was your peer. You guys were in Saving Lives together.
Yes, we were.
And Captain George, and one thing, and if you take a look at all the Beach Patrol guys, they turned out to be very, very impressive guys.
Marcus, is the one thing I want to impress. That there isn't one lifeguard out there that's been on that beach that hasn't gotten it instilled in. Bob and George, and now Butch.
Captain Butch.
Captain Butch, I just said to him just 2 weeks ago, you've kept it up, and he's up to 200 and something. We started at 13, so it's a camaraderie, and these guys and their brotherhood and what have you. And I just want you to make sure you know that.
Well, I do, and now everybody does. Charlie, thank you so much.
And I thank you, Mark. I mean it sincerely.
Thank you.
True.
You're the best. You're the best.
Let's practice.
Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 1976. And I would like for you to tell everybody your name, stand you were on, just to kind of get everybody just to who you are.
Okay. My name is Mike Heyman. I guarded from about 73 to 77. I guarded on 12th Street. The Mayflower Hotel is still sailing.
Wow, it's very cool. Now, could you tell me some memorable pulls that you had? Some memorable pulls.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know those. So go ahead. Let's get some good ones.
I'll never forget a good northeaster blowing and having about 4 people on one tin can and trying to bring them in through the.
How did that all get started? What year was that?
That was right around 74, about my second year on patrol.
And then what happened? The nor'easter was coming in. And
Oh yeah,
give us some more details.
Yeah, not many people in the water, and all of a sudden just noticed a group of swimmers that were brave in the shore break, decided to go out for a swim, and ended up getting too far beyond the breakers. And
How high were the waves?
Over 6 foot plus.
Because I remember going in when they were like 8 feet and stuff. And you would have to actually dive through the waves and like grab the bottom. Remember having to grab the bottom of the ocean and pull yourself in because the tin cans upstairs, you know? And then you get up, you had 4 on the tin can.
I told them all to grab on, hold on to the rope going around the can, and let's hope for the best. And we came in through the shore break, and everybody held on, we all made it in.
All right, were you a crew chief?
I was not. Chris King was my crew chief.
Chris King, Chris is here. Chris is here. I saw him last night. So
He was on 14th Street.
well, listen, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming by.
Great to see you, Mark.
All right, that's a wrap. Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 1976. And I'd like to say what an honor it is for me to have Rick Norris here, Lieutenant Rick Norris. And Rick, why don't you just tell everybody your name, your history on the Beach Patrol and all that.
Well, my name is Richard Norris, and I started in 1969. And I guarded for a couple of years, and I was a crew chief, and then I made a sergeant, I think, in 72.
Well, hang on. So you started in 69.
Yeah.
And then, so in 69, they didn't have crew chiefs, right?
Yeah, yes, 70 was the first year they had crew chiefs.
Okay. So
I think.
but you were a crew chief.
I was a crew chief.
You know
too.
why I know you're because you and I are in the crew chief picture together.
Yeah, we have blue shirts on.
Yeah, you remember that picture?
Yeah,
I still got that.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
And Captain Craig had a special crew chief. Yeah,
The only time ever that happened.
yeah, right.
So, all right, so go ahead.
So then I was a crew chief, and then I was made a sergeant in 73, I think. And 74 and 75 was a lieutenant. It was a good time.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you were stepping through the ranks. You were doing all the things I wished I could have done.
But hell,
And no, that's not true at all. You had to be chosen to be in that elite group.
well, Captain George had to like you.
That's right.
That's very important.
Yeah. Captain George. It was all about Captain George. Now, could you tell us like a memorable moment?
Well, I can tell you it wasn't a cool, but a memorable story about Captain George.
Okay.
We were walking down in the East River, and his rednecks were drinking beer as they usually do. And George said to him, "Get that beer off the beach." And they looked at him and said, "What the F are you talking about?" And that's all it took for George. And so George horse-collared this guy, and he was dumping him in the surf, his head first into the surf, big old redneck. And George had him down like that. And all of a sudden, reporters showed up and they were taking pictures. It was on the front page of the Coastal Press. And I'm standing there and he's dumping the guy. He said he was giving the guy a touch up. So he usually said, but that was the first time I've ever arrested anybody, and the last time. And we had to go to court the next morning, and they got a fine and released, but they spent the night in jail.
Now, was the press kind to Captain George?
Oh yeah.
So he was
This was back in
1975.
1975,
Right. Very good. Now let's talk about like a specific rescue you were on. Did you ever have to get CPR?
Oh yeah.
Well, let's talk about one of those two.
One day, I tell you what day it was. It was the 4th of July, in 1974, and I was actually right here on the board. And these girls I knew rode their bikes by on the boardwalk, and Captain Craig said, "Go get him. We'll arrest him." And I knew the place. So I just kind of moseyed down there, and he got in the car and we sped down the block there. And then we get this call on the radio that this guy had gone under on 100th Street Bayside Keys.
100 Bayside?
Yeah, Bayside. Yeah. So it was 4th of July weekend. Get this. I mean, the traffic was horrendous. And he was driving, not me. He wasn't a very good driver. He drove about 10 miles an hour.
That's with the lights on.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to die on the ride up there. And we got up there just as they pulled this guy out of the channel. I forget who it was. It was, a couple of guys. There were other
Beach Patrol guys?
Officers, yeah. They were all
Probably Chapanic and Brubeck.
No, they were gone.
Okay.
Like Landry and
Oh,
Steve
Landry.
Lefevre.
Oh, Lefevre,
John
Landry.
Bender. John Bender, So they pulled this guy out, and he had been under 15 minutes. And he was dead or anything. So when I got there, they were just loading him in the ambulance, and they were doing CPR. So I jumped in. So I had to ride from 100th Street to 26th Street to a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. This guy, it smelled like wine. I mean, it smelled horrible. You've been eating French fries, drinking wine, and he puked it all over me. I'll never think it was a take.
Did he make it?
No,
I mean, 50, they say 5 minutes. It's kind of
yeah, right. He was down 15 minutes. And the water was pretty warm.
Right, I didn't want to cold water.
That was, I'll never forget it.
Well, Lieutenant Rick, I just want you to know how much it means to me to have you here right now. And I'll never forget all the times that you climbed up on my stand.
Pat you on the back,
right? And we had nice little talks. And so anyway, thank you so much.
All right, okay.
That's a wrap. Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. I have, go ahead, it's Ellsworth. Give them your name right just here on the group, so you know who you are.
Ellsworth Boyd, and call me Els. I'm a retired university professor at Towson University.
Very
and
impressive.
Freelance writer, and I've written articles about the Beach Patrol for the USLA magazine, United States Life Saving Association magazine, and the local Ocean City newspaper and the Valley Times. And I brought some extra copies of the Valley Times that was in 2007, and they're going to be auctioned off tonight because it's an 11-page article with 5 photos and a cover.
I am getting goosebumps, man. That is like incredible. I didn't even know that. Hey, congratulations. It's an honor to be with you. But now let's talk about like what beach you were. What beach you were.
I was on 4th Street in front of the Shore Motel. First got on, I was in front of the Atlantic, and then I moved up to 4th Street, and that's where I spent 4 of my 5 years on the patrol.
Okay, what years are that?
1951 to 55.
I was born in 52. You look fabulous. You really did. All right, let's this is our 2013 reunion, and really, we're really honoring our elders. What kind of message? We have some really cool moments here that'll be on YouTube forever. Give me like something that's important to add to this.
Well, if I give it to you, then it's not going to be a surprise because my talk tonight is
Well,
going to
they're
be...
not going to see this for a month or two. Go for
This
it.
is going to be a revolutionary announcement that I'm going to make
Okay,
tonight.
well, we're going to break it right here, and I'll keep it secret.
Got to keep it secret.
It's gonna be a secret.
Jack Chu has to keep it
No, keep it rolling. Go for it.
In 2000, when I organized the first reunion with the help of Lucky Jordan and Clark Graham, Joe Ellison, and a lot of others, I wrote to Ed Smith in Florida, and I said, "True Buddies, I would be honored to join the Legends of Life Saving." Therefore, the term or the saying, Legends of Life
Who is Ed
Saving.
Smith?
Ed Smith was a lifeguard in the 1950s.
Okay.
Therefore, the saying evolved from Ed Smith, and then we put it on as a title on different correspondence and emails. Well, it was really the guys from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who were the legends of life saving. But as the years went on, we thought, well, really, they're all legends of life saving. So tonight, I am going to announce that all of the guards from the 30s through the 2000s and the ones on the beach now are official. This is official. This is historic.
This is
very
right.
historic.
Letting them in the club.
Yeah. And I've got a certificate that I'm going to give Butch. I'm going to give
That's a certificate.
And that's a certificate that's specially made up that tells all about declaring that this is a historic moment on the 5th day of October, declaring that all of the guards who have ever been on the force and are presently are considered legends of life saving.
And that makes me a legend.
You're a legend
As of today.
As of today.
All the time before, I was a fraudulent.
Well, you're official now. There's a picture of Butch Harmon. There's the Ocean City seal, and then also I'm going to give copies of this to them. And I've got some extras. First come, first serve. And my daughter made this up. She's a graphic artist at the University of Maryland. She made this up.
Well, Ellsworth, I thank you very much. It's an honor to know you. It's just such a treat. And that's a wrap.
Okay, good.
Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. I am incredibly honored to have Lieutenant Mark Warren over me. And it's our era we're sharing.
Right.
So, we're all here with the whole shooting match. But, you know, when I get together with you, you know, it's our era. So
Right.
so we're so you and I are going to celebrate our era.
We're going to celebrate. Okay, sounds
So
good.
anyway, what I want you to do is tell everybody kind of your name, rank, solar serial number,
Got it.
where you started, so go.
My name's Mark Warren. I started when I was 16 years old, the summer of my 10th grade year in high school in 1975. And for the next 8 summers, I had the pleasure to serve on the Ocean City Beach Patrol through 1982. My last
75 to 82?
75 to 82.
Wow.
So I was on the patrol 8 years, which was great. All through high school, basically all through high school, and all through college, and 1 year of graduate school. I actually went to graduate school so I could do another year on the beach patrol. That's how much I loved it.
Now, what beaches were you on?
I was blessed. I was on 10th Street for 4 years. My first year on the patrol, my mother wasn't going to let me stay down here by myself, so I was actually in Captain Craig's house in the barracks underneath with 5 other guys who were beach patrol guys.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
Now, why don't you tell me about a memorable rescue?
Okay. Yeah, it's funny, Mark, when you asked me, you specifically remember it. I talk about it a lot. July 15, 1979, I was on 14th Street as a crew chief. And I was just coming back from lunch, and our lunch rover at the time was one of our senior guards. And he was running down the next stand. As I turned and got back up in the stand in front of what at that time was the Commander Hotel, I noticed we had a very large jetty at 15th Street. Huge rip had opened up there, and there was about 12 or 14 people standing on the sandbar. Big wave action knocked all 14 or so of them into the rip. And Kevin Smith, Greg Callahan, and myself were the first 3 in the water for the rescue. We pulled in about 15 people total with a bunch of other guards around us. But the thing that I remember about that rescue, the reason it stands out in my mind wasn't the numbers. It was I was the first guy in the water, so I was sealing the rescue area, which meant that I was swimming by a lot of people in trouble to get to the furthest people out. There were 3 people I locked on to when I put my head in the water to swim. By the time I got out to them, I only saw 1. The other 2 had gone underwater. I thought they had drowned, didn't know where they were. What happened was when I went up to the guy who was still panicking, I said, "Here, take the buoy," and he wouldn't take it. And then we were trained to get a little more aggressive. I said, "Here, take the buoy," he wouldn't take it. The third time I just hit him literally in the face with it. When I did that, Mark, 2 heads popped up because he covered his head to grab the buoy. He was holding the other 2 guys under.
Oh my God, that is the most incredible story.
And you know, then we were trained. That's what we were trained to do. Put 3 guys on the buoy, swam up the beach, you know, out of the rip, and then just pulled them in. And when we got to the end, what was really, and this is the reason it was so memorable for me, was that the dad was holding his 2 sons under, and I'll never forget that. And it wasn't because he didn't love his kids. It was because he wasn't trained to handle the ocean. And we were, and that was a real blessing for him and his family who had a chance to do that. So,
That is totally awesome.
Yeah.
Mark Warren,
Pleasure.
you are incredible.
thanks for having us here
And
today.
thank you for being here, being our MC. Mark is our master of ceremonies
Oh, thanks,
tonight.
yeah.
And I'm looking forward to, you know you're going to have to top what you did 2 years ago.
We'll try.
And I think it's going to be very difficult, but I'm going to have no fear.
Thanks for all you're doing for the Beach Patrol.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Go Ocean City Beach Patrol.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Mark McCluskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. Okay, what I'd like you to do is give everybody your name, rank, and serial number, you know what beach you're on, your name on. Go.
Pete Caligari, 1967 through 70. 1967, I was on 49th Street where the gateway is. No
By the way, that was my beach area. I was 45th.
49th Street. The second year I was at 87th Street. Dr. Welsh's family lived behind me. Got a $100 tip at the end of the summer. I was living large. Third year, 23rd Street, and then Captain Craig walked up to me on 14th Street and said, "Would you like to be an officer?" I said, "Well, let me think about it." So
Wow, let me think about it.
I did. I went in, he
Jeez.
said, "I'll make you a sergeant," and so that's what I did.
Well, now, well, let's do this. Okay, we'll back up. All right, I got to ask some questions. Okay, your first year was what?
1967.
And then when did you? And they didn't have crew chiefs then.
No,
So you went straight to sergeant. Right. Okay. So you were 67, and when did you ask to be crew chief or sergeant?
well, he asked me in 69, late 69 and then 70. So I was sergeant end of 69 and 70.
All right, now what I'd like you to do now is just think about your most memorable pool. Okay, so tell me.
Well, actually, the most memorable was after I was a beach patrol guard. At that point, we had Virginia Beach was closed. It was 8 to 12. We was pushing for the north. There's another one too.
No, but let's start with this thing.
Okay, beach patrol. All right.
Okay, you were not a guard.
I was not a guard.
What month was it?
And it was 54th Street. It was probably middle July, right around July 4th.
Okay, so it was after hours?
No, it was right during the day, and they closed the beach at Virginia Beach because it was.
Oh, you're in Virginia Beach
No,
now?
I was in Ocean City, Maryland.
Okay.
I'll tell you about the
All right, keep going, get archived.
And then eventually, what happened that day was I went out. There were 7 guards around. Well, 6 guards in me and one. And I remember stroking out with a grab buoy, and Paige Carey was next to me. We just started laughing because we were friends.
Well, Paige, she's first chick lifeguard in
That's right.
1977.
And she was a sergeant, probably. And so we made about 20 people caught a massive rip.
You were off duty?
I was off duty, but I was
Was Eddie off?
No, I was literally a visitor
On the beach.
on the beach. Exactly. I had a family thing going on 54th Street.
So you just jumped in and helped.
Just jumped in and helped.
And they were grateful.
Right, exactly, absolutely. The one thing that was the most unusual was when the Coast Guard cutter, out of control, a guy drunk at the wheel of the Coast Guard, but it was a cutter, it was a 27-foot cabin cruiser on July 3rd or 4th, in the middle of some beautiful day, big waves, about 6 to 8 feet, coming out of the north, really pulling, and this guy was drunk, and he literally was passed out, bouncing around in the cuddy. And we saw him. I was at 23rd Street. We blew everybody out of the water, and this guy came all the way in from the south, angled in, and then grounded the boat, threw the anchor out. So I jumped, off the stand into the water, jumped in the boat. The motor was still running. I grabbed the keys, the ignition keys, dropped them down my tank suit, and the guy was sitting there with empty beer cans rolling all over.
So you actually climbed in the boat?
Climbed in the boat, jumped in the boat, and Johnny Jarvis was a lieutenant then. Anyway, I took care of that part. He was so drunk, he was just like bleeding on. He actually told me, he said, "Sonny, let's start her back up again and back her out." Well, the real Coast Guard showed up. John and I swam out to the Coast Guard club that was offshore about 25th Street, the first try. They gave us the rope. We were going to bring the rope in and hook it to the boat, and they were going to pull it out through the waves. Well, we didn't make it. John and I swam as hard as we could. We missed the boat by about 2 blocks, literally. We went back in the water about 4 blocks up and just barely made it to where the boat was anchored, essentially. They hooked up. Coast Guardsmen got behind the wheel and just cranked it right out. It was one of those things, the crowd was going wild, the whole thing. But that's the kind of stuff that we literally did a lot of times. Anyway.
Pete, listen, it's a pleasure meeting you for the first time.
Thank you very much.
Part of it.
It's a pleasure to be a part of it. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap.
Thank you for doing it too.
Martin Kleski, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 1976. I'd like you to go by your name and talk about yourself.
My name's Mark McCullough. I joined the Beach Patrol in 1980, and I was down in the crew off of 27th Street with Bruce Silvano, and I guarded sort of 29th and 31st, back when they had the big rock pile jetties for the first 2 years. Then went up north and I lived up there, 126 for the 3rd year, then I ran a crew. Yeah, on 78th Street. Yeah, and that was it.
Now, tell me like one of your most memorable pulls.
Yeah, I had a couple interesting ones. My rookie year, we had a fella in the Harrington Arms, elderly fella, very old, had a heart attack. I had to run up about,
What year was this?
This was 80. It was probably my 3rd or 4th week on the job, very gray day, not a lot of people on the beach. The guy comes running out, help. We run up. And I had to run up about 15, 20 flights of steps. I mean,
Oh, now you're off the beach.
in a hotel. And
You're leaving the beach, so that you're an EMT guy now.
exactly.
Okay.
And so I had to give this fellow mouth to mouth. His whole family's in the room.
Did I hear you say you ran up steps?
Had to.
How many?
There was at least 15 flights.
Because you didn't want to like wait for the elevator.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
So we brought him back once, but then he went out again. And was sick of my face. The whole, and he never made it. And he was, the doctor said he was probably gone before he hit the floor. But And
You know, you
then,
think about the time, you know, I mean, now, I mean, like, by the time they get you off.
oh, it was crazy. Yeah, and he was very old, you know. But that was probably my worst memory. But I think my best pull was, oddly enough, on 126th Street. We saw way more action downtown than you do up north.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was 4th of July weekend, and you know, I'm sitting there and I see this old couple, you know, doing this into the surf, you know, and it was a odd 4-foot easy swell breaking right on the beach, and a lot of trouble that day. And we had a new guy to the north of me, and this couple's right in front of him with this huge rip right out in front of him. You know, you can see the discoloration, you know, the whole deal. Trying to get his attention, to watch them. Sure enough, swell comes in, takes them out, and the couple, both the man and the woman. I took off from about 2 blocks south, ran the whole beach, jumping over people, the whole deal, and I dove in the rip from the beach, and it popped me right up where the guy was. I think if I had to go in the rip,
Yeah, the rip is always the best place to go. And what I
I'd put you right there.
You want to I would like to see, you always know which way the current. When I'm running
Oh, you
down,
want to borrow it.
get in, and
That's a cop.
ride the current, ride the rip, go like Mark's does.
And you're right there. So he's like doing one of
what
these.
do you
by
wanna
the time
do?
I put the oil in it, got the wife in there.
You can have
Got
that
it
and
into
do what
big
you
surf.
want with
A couple guys came out and helped us get it.
That's what I'm saying.
And the guy wrote a
If you
letter
want,
and-
like, get Bill Casey to sign off on it.
Listen, thank you
Get
so much,
somebody
Mark.
Booze
All
to
right,
sign
nice to
off
meet
on
you.
it.
And that's a
Fuzzy,
wrap.
Fuzzy, no,
That's a wrap.
for you.
Okay, Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 1976. I have the incredible honor of having Lucky Jordan here with me right now. I had the opportunity to meet, well, actually I met Lucky at Captain Craig's funeral, and we got to spend some quality time there. And then 3 years ago, we got to spend some more quality time. And I just personally want you to know what an honor it is for me to be here. We've been very kind to you through the years. You've been kind to my son Parker, and you are a true legend. And I want to thank you for that.
Well, I think we're all legends. Myself, I think. We all did the same job. Some of us did a little better, some than others. But basically, you know, to say.
I'm going to disagree with you for just a moment, if you'll allow me to do that. Who was the first person to send semaphore up the beach? Lucky Jordan.
Yeah.
1945 is when you started. Why don't you?
Right.
You started in 1945, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your? So we didn't get a chance to do this last time. Just tell everybody a little bit about your name, the stands you were on, and the years.
Well, I was in 1945. I worked for Bill Casey, who was the youngest captain of Beach Patrol in the history of patrol.
And quite an individual.
Yes, yes. In fact, the little story about Bill is that he auditioned for the role of Tarzan that Johnny Weissmuller ended up getting.
He would have been a hell of a Tarzan, wouldn't he?
He's too good looking.
Oh, he would have been a better Tarzan than that Johnny Weissmuller guy.
He might have, but I think the problem was he was too good looking. He was a good looking guy.
Well, he's still
Weissmuller looked more rugged, you know, he did rugged look.
right.
But anyway, I was there in 45 and went to the Navy. Spent a few years in the Navy.
Now, I want to stop you right there for a minute. I know that this is not about the Navy, but I want to make it about you. And I know that you were in a special unit that was the predecessor to the SEAL team. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
I was sent over there to. Actually, I was on a work crew at the Norfolk Naval Air Station, and I was sent over to Little Creek to help out with poor swimmers, bring the poor swimmers up to grade. And while I was there, I fell into the blood program.
It was called the Bud Program.
Yeah, that's the basic program.
Okay, and that was the predecessor. That was a predecessor to the SEAL team.
Yeah, those two units were merged just recently, formally. And I read in the paper that they had merged after all these years. But the so-called, I wasn't in any combat or anything like that. So,
But you were diving. You were a diver, right?
Right.
And then, what year was that? 19.
You mean, was I diving in the Navy?
Yeah.
45, 46.
You were diving. You were scuba diving in 1945.
No, because we used rebreathers in those days.
Yeah, but a rebreather's the same thing.
The scuba tank is
I know there's
concentrated.
a technical difference.
It's concentrated oxygen.
But the technical difference is that, but you're still underwater breathing,
It's
right?
still underwater, but the rebreathers it's a mixture, and you're rebreathing with filters and what have you. You're on air for so long, so you can't stay down as long, and you can't
What
go
was
as
the
deep.
time? What was the time that you stayed at?
The average, depending on how hard you're working, the average was like 30, 45, 40 minutes.
Okay, well, that's good. That's about
At maybe 40 feet.
Okay, so you really couldn't get deep.
No, you couldn't get away from it.
Okay, moving back to the beach.
But the scuba tank didn't come out until 1950, and we were gone by then.
Now, tell us about a memorable pull that you had.
About a what?
A memorable rescue that you would have had.
Memorable rescue. That's kind of hard, Mark. because,
Tell me an unmemorable one.
I have no idea how many people I've
Did you ever have to give mouth to mouth?
No one ever did. I always used the old back pressure arm lift method. And in Fort Lauderdale in 1952, I performed back pressure arm lift.
Now, just so everybody knows for a minute, okay, everybody knows pretty much what CPR is. Did this back pressure arm lift, was that before CPR was
Yes,
introduced?
it was.
Now this is something that is off the charts, historical, incredible. Now I'm talking to Lucky Jordan, and I asked him if he'd done CPR, and he said no, and didn't even let me know that they didn't have CPR back then. And then now these chest pressure arm lift, were you successful with those?
I never worked on the chest. It was always face down, position the head so that the drainage was proper, and pressing on the back, and then lifting the arms to perform a sort of a pulmonary motion.
How many times did you have to do that?
Until they started breathing.
Don't know how many times.
Oh,
1, 2, 3.
I've done it maybe 5, 6 times.
How many lived?
How many lived? I got them all.
Everybody.
I've never lost anyone.
Never lost one. That is totally incredible. Well, Lucky Jordan, I want you to know what an honor it is to be here. And what we're doing this time is we're honoring your craft, your team. And I'm honored to be here with you. And I'm going to say again, I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for the friendship you've given me over the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I want to thank you, Mark, and I want to thank all the guys that came after me.
That's a big
Because
crowd.
we've all did the same job.
Very kind.
All right.
Thank you so much, Lucky. That's a wrap. Mark McCluskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 and 1976. I'm sitting here with actually Sergeant Shapanik, and you probably got. Did you ever make it to lieutenant?
I'm always been a blue collar working guy.
Yeah.
Taking in office and stuff.
I know I missed it. I want you to tell everybody your name and when you started and all that stuff.
Bob Shapanik, working from 1967 to 1970. 17th Street to Rock Mile, down the inlet to Sergeant.
And he was a hell of a sergeant too, because I remember back in 1971, it was you, Brubaker, that got my green shirt. And 3 years ago, I got a chance to talk to Lieutenant Brubaker. I was down to talk to you. It was a memorable day for me. I want you to know how much you did. We're honoring the older guys tonight, but right now it's about our team. We're the same crowd. We were there at the same time. I remember you calling up on my stand and talking to me. I want you to tell me memorable recipe.
So many, it's got
Tell me an unmemorable.
well, down at the inlet,
happened is that it got swept out and then you get to
Yeah, we had a couple people on the board. A few people, a couple of guys involved. We actually got
very cool. So now you were a guard on the beach at that point, right?
on the first man on the beach.
That's a tough. Now I'm glad that we have this opportunity to talk about the rock pile because I know that's where they put the first girl in 1977. They put her on the rock pile. Would you say that rock pile beach is one of the toughest beaches on the whole beach?
Yeah, it is because you've got no place left to go. North, south, channel.
Well, Sergeant Shapani, thank you very much. I want to thank you for your friendship that I've gotten over the last 5 years or so. All right, that's a wrap. Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. What I'd like you to do is just tell everybody your name and the years you're on the Beach Patrol and what stands you're on.
Okay, my name is Stephen Gosnell. My nickname is Goose. I was known as Goose on the Beach Patrol. I guarded 1983, 1984. I guarded on 72nd Street and 36th Street. And the best years of my life, I met Dave Griffith, Dave Wiggum, and I still have friends to this day from the Beach Patrol.
And you know, it's funny how we all kind of have that same story.
Yeah.
And the reason is it's all true.
It is.
And but I'd like you to tell me a little bit about like your most memorable rescue that you might have.
The most memorable rescue I had was one day a motorcycle rider was in the water. He was very heavy, all tattooed, bodied up, and he got in trouble in the water, and he must have weighed about 250 pounds. I had to go out in the water and get him. He felt like living hell. And
he was in a riptide, right?
Yeah, he was in a rip. I pulled him out of the rip, and then what I did was I was able to get him in, and it was such an exhausting rescue because, I mean, he was huge. The biggest person I ever pulled in. I mean, he must have been 350 pounds. So when I got him in, that was it for me the rest of the day. I prayed that I wouldn't have a rescue for the rest of the day. But the funny thing was, I wasn't even supposed to be working that day. It was my off day, and I was filling in for a guard. So I saw him the next day and said, "Don't you ever leave on a Sunday?"
You got a day off?
Yeah, that was it was my regular day off. The day I made the rescue, I was substituting for someone, Dave Griffith. But like I say, the best thing about the Beach Patrol was I still have friends to this day. It was the best job I ever had, and loved it. And I think this might be Dave Griffith now.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's a wrap. Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. What I'd like you to do is just tell everybody your name, the years you're on the Beach Patrol, understand.
Dave Griffith, started 80 and left within 30 years. So
30 years. When you're 30 years.
30 years.
On Beach Patrol? Oh my God, are you still on the Beach Patrol now? Wow, okay, when did you start in 1980? And then, are you a teacher? You're a professional. That is so terrible. That's awesome. All right, so let's start. 1980. All right, so in 1980, for 30 years, you were on the Beach Patrol. Correct. All right, now, in 1980, you started as a white shirt, right?
Started as a green shirt.
We all started as green shirt. And then were you ever made?
I can't. The bar is ridiculous. And
Secret Chief 82.
Okay, all right. You know, we all have these stories. Okay, so like in 1980 you started, and then they made you a crew chief. And which game would they make you crew chief?
70.
70. Okay, so you're a crew chief. And then how many years were you crew chief? Long time. When did they demote you?
Well, next year.
So you went to a crew chief and then they bumped you back in.
I was in Fort Lauderdale working. I didn't get back in time.
It's always a time issue. You have commitments down possible time commitments. I can see you're a troublemaker for quite that.
Then I was a promoted sergeant
And then they started. Now that's not the coolest job ever.
It's a great job.
And what year was that?
I don't know when I was promoted. 10 years ago, like 89 maybe.
Wow. And the Captain Blades, was he your captain at this time, or was it George Shelton?
Okay, I started with Captain Craig, with Captain Schiff, and then Captain Blades.
I love them all.
Yeah, Captain Bush started, I think, in 96 or 97 when Captain Schiff.
I was at his funeral. Jack. Let's talk about that for a minute. Excuse me a second, we're recording. Okay, now I want to see you next, okay? So, at any rate, you're a popular guy. So, at any rate, I want to take just a moment to talk about Captain Craig's funeral. Was that not the most awesome funeral you ever saw? I mean, I cried for when they were doing that,
Well, I didn't go to the beach service.
Okay, but I got to tell you that when we were out on the beach, Captain Bush did an incredible eulogy. When at the end they were doing the, Unit 1, Base Unit 1. Well, very good, very good. Listen, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to know you here. I'll catch you later.
I see you too.
Okay, that's a wrap. Mark Gillespie, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 1976. I just want to say that we have a kind of a cameo appearance here with Captain Bush. He's not an alumni, but he's been around as long as he's been around for 42 years now.
Yes.
42 years, and he started out as a kid on White Beach.
That's right.
That's like somebody would say, Mark, what are you most proud of? I'd probably say Captain Bush, kid on White Beach.
That's absolutely right.
That's right. It was 1972.
Yeah.
And I remember inviting to our parties.
Right.
We had a lot of cool conversations. But I'd like for you to introduce yourself to everybody, tell me your name and when you started with Beach Patrol.
I'm Butch Arvin. Fortunate to be the current captain of the Ocean City Beach Patrol. I've completed 41 seasons, as Mark said, I'm getting 42, and I have to thank Mark because, we should talk about it today. You never know when you talk to somebody what impact you can make. And Mark said, hey, come do this. And next summer I came back and joined the patrol. We've been here ever since. And thanks to Mark and other people along the way that encouraged me, it's been great. It was great to see Mark come back involved with the patrol again, having his son in our Junior Beach Patrol program.
5 years.
And yeah, exactly. And we're waiting for him to take the test and fine.
Absolutely, that's great. Listen, I want you to tell us about your most memorable rescues.
Well, there's so many that we've done together. We're still working here, but I think one of them was just one father of kid slow and steady, wins out of swim, wave hit, raft goes one way, kid goes another way, and then I'm making the rescue. That was just staying underwater and the rescue job because
well, let's talk for a minute. This is huge because most of the time to make a rescue, you're already on the rescue. Right. Here, you had a situation where the kid was underwater.
Well, what happened was, we tell them to stay on the flotation devices, swimming ability. You take somebody out in the middle of the ocean by themselves, a kid down there, the kid was being one of them. I went to go make the rescue, started listening to the flies, go make the rescue, on my way out, the way in. Raft popped up, kid did. So, just like I said, it was right where I was. It wasn't very, that wasn't very traumatic. Plastic things these guys used to make. All real rescues were made of metal. So that was memorable just because it could have gone both ways. And today's still we see things like that. I was sitting on the beach one morning reading the Bible. It was early, cinnamon swirl, and before it started to this guy decided to get sucked out there. So I had to go run and rescue this person.
Without a movie?
No, I was in my beach patrol video, so I did that a little bit. But again, the same thing, things like that, just at the right place at the right time. And had I not been there that morning, so it was an hour and a half before the flight. I was down by the place. So, a lot of memories with the beach patrol. Has a lot of people that are there. It's a lot of people walking around today. Kids and people that are rescued, grandkids and people that are rescued. And again, this has not made that rescue. You never know how far out it goes.
Well, I would like still my captain. You know, I consider the Beach Patrol as kind of like being a general. You know, generals never are not generals until they're not. Right. So you're my captain. I want to thank you for everything that you've done for me. You know, I just can't tell you how proud I am. I mean, with all my heart, to know you, to be part of your life, and so kind to me, so kind to Parker.
It is.
And I was thinking with Charlie. I was talking with an older guard. Okay. But the main thing we talked about had to do with Captain Craig, Captain Shuffy, and it was about the impact that you made on all the guards that we with you. If you take a look at all the lifeguards, all the guards, when they leave the beach patrol, they leave and they go in to be pretty impressive people. Absolutely. And it's because of you.
Well, it's because of we. It's because of we.
Well, but you provided a superior, guy, you're the top-down thing. Anyway, I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you've done, and I definitely appreciate the history and the, dedication of these Otter and just what they've brought to us. It's the foundation of who we are today. And when you say people are proud of what we do today, that's what we're proud of. I want the people that came before us to be proud of who we are today. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap. There we go. Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. So what I'd like you to do is tell everybody your name and what year you're in.
I'm David Shea. I started in 1966. I started 66, 67, got drafted in 67, missed the beach in 68, came back in 69, was crew chief in 70.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And the entire time I was on Middle Beach.
Middle Beach?
Which basically was...
I know what Middle Earth is, but I don't know where is Middle Beach?
Middle Beach was considered the blocks between 10th and say 16th up to 17th and 18th. It was the middle part of the beach where they had all the jetties. We had a lot of currents and we had a lot of crowds.
Okay, so you were in action
I was there.
Now, I would like you to tell me like one of your more memorable rescues.
Well, the very first week I was with the guard, the guard with the beach patrol, I was up on Pretty North, and they had no stand. So I was basically sitting on the sand or standing up, just sort of walking around trying to figure out.
I didn't understand.
They didn't have to do this too early in the season. They just didn't have to stand.
Okay, there's some. What time was it? May?
This was like June, very early June, earlier June of 1966. They hadn't had all the stands put out yet. So, and I guess I must have impressed somebody because after about the first week, they came and got me and they took me down to 11th Street and they had a stand. And I remember getting up on the stand the very first day and saying, what did I got myself into? I mean, all of a sudden there are all these people and I'm supposed to be a lifeguard and I'm supposed to figure out what to do with these people. And I was just absolutely certain I wasn't going to go. That was it. So I turned up about an hour later, hour and a half. This kid started thrashing me around the water. And he was just, he would look like he was just absolutely in dreadful trouble. So I jumped off the trim, stand, grabbed my can, ran down the water, jumped in, and started just going toward him big time, and got to the sandbar, and stood up, and he stood up. And I was so embarrassed that this kid had stood up and I went to save him. I demanded that he get on the can, and I tried pulling back the shore to make it look like I had just did the pool because I didn't want anyone to think I was this dumb there.
Right. It's like, if you took the time to get there, they got to go for the ride.
That's right. So I learned very quickly that, by the way, don't, just calm down, just making sure you keep track of, be sure who's actually in trouble.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, that's a wrap. Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76. John, what I'd like you to do is tell everybody your name and the years you were here and what stand you are.
I'm John James Matikas. I was here in 71 and was working.
How many years were you here?
1 year.
1 year. 1970. That was my first year. I was here in 71. What beach were you on? Or were you relevant?
Well, we discussed last night. Remember Rapley?
Yeah, Bob Rapley.
Yeah, he was.
Because in 1971, I showed up in July 15th, and I did like a partial summer, and I didn't have a stand. I was like roaming.
Well, yeah, we started the rooming right about that time because remember we got up the $100. The city.
I don't remember.
Gave us a
anything.
raise up to $100 a week plus the rover 6 days a week.
Wow, very good. Well, I'd like you to tell me one of your more memorable pulls, one of your more memorable rescues.
I would, let's see, can I talk about something else?
Sure, go ahead.
The funny thing about my tenure with the beach patrol was when I was off work.
Okay, that works too.
Yeah, and it actually wasn't full. The gentleman had was surfing at the shoreline, and the waves were breaking right there, and boom, pancaked him. And I'm sitting in there, with my friends, and they said, "Hey, somebody, there's some issues down there, and the girls with we just going to get the lifeguard CPR."
So you were actually engaged in a CPR?
Yeah, exactly. I was a CPR.
I mean, like, no,
Yeah.
oh, they were doing CPR on you?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to say the man wouldn't live if I.
No.
I didn't do
So
CPR.
basically, you approached the guy. Was it a heart attack?
No, it was a drowning.
So you pulled him in and had to give CPR.
I saw the group down there, and I went and I ran down. I looked for the guards, of course, and nobody was around. And it was right around Dorchester Street.
Were you a guard at this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you off duty?
Yeah.
So you were not. It was like your day off type of thing, and you ran in and took care of the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he live?
Yes, he did. What was really strange was when the water came, all the water came out of his mouth. He was embarrassed. He's embarrassed. I know. He just ran off like a bad.
How long did you work on it?
I think it was 3 cycles, basically.
You threw 3 cycles.
Yeah.
That's huge. Well, that's what a lot of guards are guards for many years and don't even get a chance to.
It was a life changer. It really was, because things like that. Life changer. It actually sticks with you.
Oh, great.
I got one more. Can I say it?
Okay, go ahead.
Up at High Point Condominiums, the lady from News America was there, and she wanted to interview a lifeguard, give a story. And so she asked me for the story. So I told her, everything about what the life of the lifeguard, and they wrote it. They wrote it up.
So you're published.
Yeah, it's published. Yeah, and it's under my documentation in our OCLB.
Maybe you can send me a copy of that. All right. Well,
the copy is there, but I wanted to say that the guards came down and they were upset because they showed it to Captain Craig. The Captain Craig didn't like something.
Captain Craig didn't like some of the things you said. I can imagine that would be the case.
Yeah, and I had no idea because it was so.
Well, I want you to send me a
Captain
copy.
Craig, if you're out there,
thanks to Unit 1.
You ain't got a chair, Buster.